Welcome back, folks. In the studio, we have White Plains Police Officer Michael Hannon and Damon K. Jones. We're talking about an ugly situation in White Plains PD incident. And, I've spoken to Officer Hannon offline. And let me just start by saying it takes a lot of courage, man, for you to do what you're doing. An active police officer in the White Plains PD coming forward with complaint of double standards and unfair treatment. Let's start by talking about exactly what happened to you that put you in the seat you're in today.
Okay, before I start, I want to thank you for having me on your show. On September 22nd, 2011, I was assigned to the communications room in our department. And that's where the dispatching of calls takes place. Approximately 1 p.m., my lieutenant advised me that the chief was unhappy with my attitude on the phone call that I had taken previously, which dealt with an administrator from a synagogue who had requested that we tow or place a ticket on a unattended vehicle in her parking lot. We dispatched our emergency services truck to that location. They did a brief investigation. They found out that it was a contractor who honestly just parked in the parking lot instead of on the street. He was working on the sidewalks there. Lieutenant advised me that the chief sent him an email to counsel me on the subject of my attitude. He immediately sent her one back stating that he felt everything was fine. I'm face forward at a computer desk and I see her coming into the room out of the corner of my eye. Moments later, I'm hit very hard from behind. As I've stated to people, I felt like I was sacked by Ray Lewis, as hard as I was hit. As soon as I turn around, I look up and she's standing over me. She has a conference with my lieutenant in the middle of us. Doesn't say anything to me. They listen to the tape together. I catch bits and pieces because I'm working. And then she gets up and she states that she couldn't write me up, meaning discipline me, because the call went the way it was supposed to go, but she would keep a mental note and keep it in her mental folder.
Let me stop you right there. This is the Assistant Chief of Police, right?
Yes, sir.
That's what we're talking about. Now, is it for her to keep? She keeps a off the record notebook. Is that what she was referring to, or you don't know?
We don't know.
But all right, but there was no grounds for anything formal.
No, sir.
All right. Well, is this somebody who's politically connected? I mean, are there implications to her saying something like that?
That would be up to the chief of police and the commissioner, David Chong, to decide that.
Okay. All right, you can continue.
On that note that you're stating, though, it is rare, very rare, that an assistant chief would go out of her way to come downstairs to that communications room and counsel any subordinate. The standard way is she should have called the lieutenant on the telephone and tell him and myself to go upstairs to her office, and that's where the counseling should have took place if it was necessary.
All right. For our listeners, you may have read bits and pieces of this story. I saw it in Lohud myself. I think the story was April 2nd, and the headline was District Attorney chooses not to prosecute or bring charges against Assistant Chief of Police. Patrolman Michael Hannon is here telling his story about what happened and where things are now.
Okay, so unknown to me at that time, I was in a lot of pain that day, but x-rays, MRIs later, I have disc damage. I have damage to a nerve that causes my right side to go numb, arms and legs, and some other injuries. Immediately that day after the incident happened, I wrote a memorandum to the chief of police and the commissioner stating what happened. After that day, I had to miss the next 3 months of work on 207C, on-duty injury. During the first 6 weeks I was out, I wrote 3 memos to the chief, Bradley, and Commissioner David Chong, which went unanswered. PBA President Rob Riley, who's been very supportive of me, he tried to do a follow-up investigation with the chief, with the commissioner, and was getting a runaround. So we decided to go over to the Westchester District Attorney's office because we weren't getting anything from White Plains. We also went to the mayor's office with a complaint that also went unanswered. During that time, my mother, God bless her, she wrote a letter to Mayor Roach and Commissioner Chong asking for some type of justice for her son. Commissioner Chong did have the decency to write her back, saying it was an internal investigation that would take place. Mayor Roach has yet to answer her back. I was accompanied to the DA's office November 16th with the PBA president, vice president, and our attorney. Waiting for us at the meeting was our internal affairs lieutenant, Michael Fitzsimmons, and the ADA, Barrett Huseby. I was not treated like a victim during that meeting. I was asked insensitive questions like, why am I bringing this over there? And couldn't this be handled internally? Also, the union and our attorney was adamant trying to get the internal affairs lieutenant out of that meeting and out of that investigation, because he did nothing with the investigation the first 6 to 7 weeks. Also, he's a personal friend of the assistant chief, part of the network, so we didn't feel it was in the best interest of a fair investigation for him to be involved in it. Unfortunately, he was allowed to assist the DA's office with that investigation. I called ADA Barrett approximately March 1st and asked her the status of the investigation. Now, we're talking about an incident that was witnessed by two people also assigned to communications that day, one a civilian dispatcher and a police officer with 20 years of service. And we're talking about an incident that was witnessed by a lieutenant as well. All our evidence was prepared by police officers who have a lot of time on the job. It took the ADA 4 months to get back to me to state that they found no criminal charges were warranted. She didn't have the decency to make a phone call or to call me in. They did it with a letter that was dated March the 7th.
Wow. All right. If you're just joining us, we're talking to White Plains Police Officer Michael Hannon. You may have read about the story. District Attorney refuses to bring charges or prosecute the Assistant Chief of Police of White Plains, who, from all accounts, eyewitnesses assaulted Officer Hannon. We're going to be talking more about it, but first we have to take a break. You're listening to the Darrell Davis program on WVOX Worldwide. Welcome back. We are in the studio with Damon K. Jones, Blacks in Law Enforcement, White Plains Police Officer Michael Hannon. Michael's telling his story, his experience recently and ongoing with police bureaucrats and good old boy network. Michael is injured at the hands of, I have to say allegedly here, a assistant police chief flung a chair at him, injured his back. He has damage. He has doctor's notes and printouts and all of that, and eyewitness accounts, which I read from other staff, veterans of the force and what have you. And yet the district attorney, for some reason, decides that this person is above the law. Michael, you want to continue with, suppose, let's play it a little differently. What if you threw a chair at her?
Well, if I did the act that Anne Fitzsimmons did to me, I would have been suspended for 30 days pending an investigation. I do believe that Chief Bradley would have chosen to press charges for me right there, and I probably would have been arrested, and that chair that was used taken and put into evidence for a trial down the road.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And yet, when the shoe's on the other foot, I mean, what do you attribute that to?
Her high rank and her, I guess, reputation as far as being someone who's a fighter for domestic violence and crimes against children. But since my incident, and the first articles were written way back in November, I have a number of retired White Plains personnel that call me all the time, and she's shown a history of this type of behavior before.
Of being aggressive towards Okay.
subordinates and emotional episodes as far as dealing with people of her same rank or less as she was coming up the line. Allegedly.
Yeah, all right. Nick, but you know something about union and representation and all of that.
Yes, I've been a union delegate for approximately 3.5 years.
And 13-year veteran of the force.
Correct.
So where do you see the breakdown? I mean, you said that you would have been suspended 30 days, pending investigation, chair, evidence. Where do you go next? I guess this is the district attorney's issue at this point.
Yes, sir. I could bring it before the attorney general, but he doesn't have to. He or she does not have to take it.
Okay. What about the Damon Jones is here, Blacks in Law Enforcement? What do you think about the district attorney deciding that this man has injuries and yet there's no crime?
I think it's status quo. I mean, the district attorney's office has been looking out for police departments and refusing to investigate or properly investigate law enforcement for years now. The thing is that we cannot expect Janet DeFiore to bring charges, especially against Assistant Chief of Police, when Janet DeFiore is a member of the Westchester County Chiefs Association. It is a conflict of interest. White Plains Police, the White Plains PBA, you know, they said it right. The lieutenant that was in charge of the internal affairs is also the lieutenant that was in question in the Hatter brothers from Officer Cavelli, with the Albanian, I think they were Lebanese brothers that are about to go into court. The lawyer brought that up on Democracy Now! That he questioned how he handled the internal affairs investigation. Probably so. He probably was in charge of the internal affairs investigation of the shooting of Kenneth Chamberlain Sr., and he was in charge of the internal investigation of the assault of our member and our brother Mike Hannon. And this is systematic. Within police departments, we say police officers should not be involved in investigating each other, and especially when you have a relationship with an internal affairs investigator that goes along with the assistant chief for over 30 years. And so this is what we see. We see hypocrisy. We see hypocrisy in our justice system in Westchester County. We see the good old boy network still moving right along, and we see Janet DeFiore covering up the dirty deeds of law enforcement all the way up to the top, to a chief, and it's an incestual relationship between all of them, and it needs to be broken up with some type of law oversight and independent investigator throughout Westchester County, 43 municipalities.
Well, Mike, you're in a bad spot, bro. I mean, it takes a lot of guts for you to come forward. I mean, I'm sure hints have been dropped to you that you should just eat this one, and yet here you are.
Well, I have a little daughter to support, so I can't just eat it. And it's still early on my injuries. How far will we recover? So I have to fight this fight. I was wronged. Mr. Jones hinted to the good old boy network, but for there's a lot of great police officers on the White Plains Police Department, and I owed it to them, the ones who witnessed it and put their careers on the line for me to fight, because they didn't have to do it, and they face the same fears or risks that I do.
Wow. And you haven't decided whether or not you're going to pursue charges with the Attorney General's office?
Not at this time.
Okay. Back to the district attorney. She doesn't have the best record when it comes to prosecuting police officers. I mean, let's face it. No DA really does. Can you find one?
Right.
But her record is particularly atrocious, I think, and I think there's been a lot of criticism recently. The Chamberlain case is in the news all the time, and so that drags her record up, and it's not looking very good. Did she gets an endorsement from PBA all the time, doesn't she?
What?
We did not endorse her the last time, and we don't endorse her the next time either. Be going over there and going through an investigation that was obviously tainted from the second it started, and given no type of courtesy, wasn't treated like a victim. Here you have the Assistant Chief, of Police, and Janet never contacted me ever. So I don't blame those who go outside for their investigations.
I have to be honest, man. Police officers are just pawns in this game, man. They're on the bottom level, of this whole game that's being played. Even though the PBA and a lot of PBAs did not support Jan, but the Chiefs Association supports her. The Chiefs Association gives money to her campaign. The Chiefs Association is out there. They supported her last campaign run. Then, because when the police departments collectively didn't support her, they created some other law enforcement organization that said they were involved. And it was just bits and pieces from people that she had in her hand to form another organization to come out and support her with foolish police officers and correction officers standing up there supporting her. So she gets that. But the sad thing about it is all these crimes that are happening, in the communities and in communities of color, and they still support her. They still support her. And now she's really showing where her favoritism is at, because she's allowing another police officer to suffer and be a victim. And she did the same thing with NYPD Kenny Kasea when he was assaulted by Yonkers Police Department.
Okay. All right, we're going to be going to a break. We're here with Damon K. Jones and Police Officer Mike Hannon from White Plains. You're listening to the Darrell Davis program on WVOX Worldwide. If you're just joining us, in studio guests, Damon K. Jones, Blacks in Law Enforcement, White Plains Police Officer Michael Hannon, the apparent victim of a chair flung at him by an assistant police chief, who the district attorney has chosen not to bring charges to. And Michael has medical records and eyewitness accounts, and so you just have to wonder, what does it take for the district attorney to bring charges against a police officer? Now, this is related to all of the shootings, the killings nationally and locally, and it just seems that even a police officer can't get justice against law enforcement. We're going to go to the phones. Hello, you're on the Darrell Davis program.
How you doing, my brother?
Good. How are you?
Sorry for you there, brother. Yeah, first I want to send my condolences to what happened to the officers here. Mike.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask, hey, Brother James, how you doing?
Hey, brother, how you doing?
Ask you a question, I know you said something about, almost something about, was you referring to Janet having a relationship with some of the African American community? Because I had my concerns about some of the African American leadership in Lower Westchester. 2 years ago, I attended a series of conferences they had around violence in Mount Vernon. Me and Nick Monturn. It was just unbelievable. The amount of counting down that the leadership that came out, especially the church leadership there, so that Richardson's church, that they had done with Mrs. Janet Burial. I mean, anything that she said went, basically. I mean, some of the proposals, basically, remember some of the proposals she had was just totally ridiculous, but it seemed like that she had even this African American leadership, basically just going along with anything she does.
Don't hang up, bro. Stay on the line, because I just want to say, what about that? I mean, you're here now on our program, but and you are taking legal action, which I think you'll comment on later. But how about reaching out to black leadership, elected officials? Is that something you guys are considering, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, we're Thursday. Officer Hannon and his lawyer Michael Baker will be sitting down with the Network of Police Accountability, which has different grassroots organizers from throughout Westchester, and they do have, I believe it's called the Ministers Alliance from White Plains. To go back to Brother Kwame's question, is that it's a crying shame, man. I can't say it. I could say it worse, but what I could say, it is a crying shame that the black leaders in Westchester County has been completely silent on the murders and the brutality of black people throughout Westchester. Going back to the Detective Christopher Ridley shooting, I wrote an article in The Guardian that it was a Democratic cover-up. His death was a Democratic cover-up. And to the DJ Henry shooting, not one black elected official showed up when Benita Zellman had the press conference. They had to bring the brother from Brooklyn, the city council member from Brooklyn. Even with the Ridley case, we had to bring Senator Eric Adams from Brooklyn to come up and be vocal on what's happening to our black men being shot at or killed. And even in the Chamberlain case, you know, it's a total disrespect that Senator Susie Oppenheimer had to send a letter to Janet DeFiore requesting her to submit all evidence in the shooting. And not one black politician in Westchester County has been outspoken or put on record or even sent a letter to the Chamberlain family. This is a shame. This is a shame. And they're not immune to this, because if they don't stand up and speak out on this, the next child that will be killed, shot, or something happened to them might be their family member. See, and when it happens to them, they're going to look around for people to come out, and then legislation is going to get passed, and then it's going to be an uproar. We can't wait till that. We're losing too many people. And I hope they come forth with Officer Hannon's case and say something, you know, and say something. What happened to the black churches? The black churches used to be the center of the civil rights movement. Everything came out the black church. You have nothing. You have no criticism. You have nothing. And part of it, they get money from the government now. You know, they get the grants and they get everything. So they can't be vocal like they used to be vocal in the 60s, because they're getting money. And it's a sad shame. And this is what's happening to the black community. And we wonder why nothing changed. After the press leave, a couple of months later, another incident happens to our children. Nothing.
I think we have to hold him accountable.
We have to hold everybody accountable because of the fact that they want our votes. And Brother Kwame, we talked about this before, and I always said that the black community need to pool their money together, form a political action committee, and have that money and start putting our own grassroots politicians or grassroots people up for election. Because if y'all not going to step up to the plate and discuss the issues in the black community and give us respect for our vote, then we will vote you out. Black, white, yellow, brown, it doesn't matter what color. But you need to start talking about these issues. These issues are not being talked about by our black elected officials, and it's a shame that when the white elected officials stand up for our rights and we can't get our own black elected officials to do the same.
Chloe, is she aware of this incident?
As far as talking to the family, no, I'm not sure. I know nobody reached out to the Henry family. Other than Susie Oppenheimer and the mayor being forced to say, the mayor of White Plains being forced to say something, and the city council being forced to say something because people packed the city council meeting. Other than that, I'm not aware of at this point.
Yeah. Even though she's a white congresswoman who pretty much gets the vote, being that she's a Democrat in the black community, unfortunately. But she, never delivers anything.
Yeah, I think it raises, this case with Brother Hannon and all the others just cited. It does show a problem. I've spoken about it many times in this program, that black leadership in Westchester County, not just Westchester, but since we're talking Westchester, but the black preachers, the black elected officials, they have formed the best word I could say is a plantation politics system, where they only deal with each other. Now, I have good relations with a lot of them, but will they speak out on these issues? No. A lot of times they send me cases that they don't want to deal with. A lot of these, and I'm not like putting anybody's dirt out there, but there are issues that senator this one or congressman that one, they won't touch. But they'll say, you need to call Darrell Davis, because they're poor people issues. The problem with and when I say poor people is, what I'm talking about. The problem with Westchester and elected officials and clergy is that they bougie. And when I say bougie, I'm not talking about an income bracket. All right, I'm talking about a state of mind, a mentality where you have a lot of black elected officials and black clergy, even more so, that look down on poor blacks. Most victims of police shootings are poor blacks, and yet the black bourgeoisie acts like they don't got time for these cases unless there's a TV camera there. And so that said, I've had conversations with a lot of people that we're going to have a grassroots convention,
right.
Westchester County,
That's
to
right.
talk about empowering poor people
That's
and
right.
push these other Negroes off the plantation.
That's right.
We're going to be running out of time shortly. Brother, thanks for the call. I want to give Mike the last word on this.
I just want to get out there that, I feel that, Mayor Tom Roach, Police Commissioner, Public Safety Commissioner David Chong, Police Chief James Bradley, at the end of the day, Anne Fitzsimmons can only get away with what they allow her to do.
That's right.
As far as any type of legal action or lawsuit, I did what I was compelled to do.
And you started a legal action.
Yes, sir.
All right. We're going to be following this case and offer any kind of help we can give from the Darrell Davis program. And anybody who wants to help out, send me an email at davis.darrell, 2, Gmail, Darrell spelled Darrell. That's it. You've been listening to the Darrell Davis program on WVOX Worldwide.